Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to paint a new Antioch Shocktrooper. Starting off with a black undercoat and a dry brush of deep grey, it's going to take a little sponge with some oak brown and just stipple it on all over the model. This is going to leave some of that dark grey behind in the recesses and just give a muddy, worn look. Next, I'm going to do the same thing with Bootstrap brown. Just going to give a variation of browns, give a worn, dirty look to the fatigues and armour and leather and everything. After that, we're going to do another stipple of fresh rust. This one we're going to concentrate more on the armour side of things. Whilst the fresh rust is still slightly wet, just take a cotton bud and just wipe off any excess. Gives a really nice rust effect. Next, we're going to go over all the metal areas with plate mail metal. When painting the gun, not being very careful, I kind of want some of that brown rusty colour to show through. After you've done the gun, I'm just going to go around all sort of the edges of the armour plating and just give it a little bit of a chipped armour look. Do some scratches and just dents and dinks in the armour. Try and concentrate around joints where the armour is likely to get chipped and worn. Now we're going to move on and paint the fatigues in Paratrooper brown. I think this is a really nice colour for clothing, especially military clothing. Moving on to army green, I'm going to go around and I'm going to paint the armour. I'm going to concentrate more on the middle areas, leaving that chipped metal rust on the edges. If you do too much close to the edges, you can always go back with the silver and just chip it up again. I just really liked how this effect came up. Makes it look like he's been fighting in the trenches. I'm just going to move on to the shoulder pad now. I'm going to use Flesh Terror's red. It's a really nice deep red colour. Thought it was quite fitting for the setting. Once everything's dry, I've just got an old brush here and I'm just going to dab on some Oozing vomit. This is not really for the colour, more just to give texture to the armour. Any cloth, kind of start making it look really muddy and grim. I'm going to do a similar thing with Typhus Corrosion. This has got a really fine grit in it, so it's really good for rust effect, just dirt and grime. So I've concentrated it around his boots and his feet. I'm also going over his armour, his backpack, anything that's just going to get muddy. You know, he's going to have mud splattering all over him and dirt. Now we're going to use fresh rust. Just go over some of the armour, wiping away any excess with a cotton bud, just to try and get a nice rusty, grim look, really. Like most of my models, we're just going to wash everything in strong tone. This is going to create a nice unified look. Also, it's going to really help contrast all the shadows. I'm going quite heavy with this because it's a grim dark style. I'm going to move on to the base. I'm going to use some earth texture. This is from Vallejo. Just going to go around, slap it on, make it look all nice and muddy, like he's running through no man's land. I'm also going to get some on the bottom of his shoes and around his boots. This stuff does take quite a while to dry, so make sure it's really dry before you go on to the next stage. Again, if you get some that you don't want to or you don't like it's too thick, just wipe it off with your finger. Now we're just going to use a little bit of super glue once it's dried to glue on some grass tufts. Quite important to make sure that the previous stages dry fully before using super glue, as it reacts a little bit funny. Once I've placed the tufts, I'm happy with them. I'm going to just start pressing them down, start manipulating the grass. So I'm just pressing down, flattening it out in areas. Now we're going to move on to oak brown. I'm going to cover the whole base in oak brown, including the tuft. I'm going to apply some to his boots and up his legs, just to cover any of that textured paint colour from before. Again, this is really going to help drive home that grim, dark, muddy, no man's land, horrible warfare look. I'm just going to wash the whole base once it's all dry in strong tone. I'm going to wash his legs where I've painted the brown as well. Sorry, it's a little bit dark here. The camera didn't quite pick up what I was doing. I'll leave that for a good half an hour or so to let it dry. I'm going to add some snow texture. I felt like, you know, a snowy battlefield would be quite cool. It gives a nice contrast to the darks of the actual model itself and the dark brown mud underneath. So again, this is snow texture from Vallejo. get some on the bottom of his boots. Just really ties everything together, gives a bit of a more realistic look. Once that's dry, again that can take a little bit of time to dry, so just leave it for a good hour or so. Use some transparent red oxide to just add a little bit of colour back into the base. Really make it look sort of like wet mud, slush from the snow. People have been treading in it, it's sort of muddy and grimy and dirty and gross. There you have it. Just want to say a massive thank you to my Patreon. There you go. One finished Shocktrooper for New Antioch. Ready to dive in, battle the demons of hell. Here's the rest of what I've done so far for my warband. I really enjoyed making this video. I really liked how they came out. I think the white snow bases really contrasts nicely with the dark brown. It's a nice way to get grim dark look without having to use any enamels or ink washes. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.